Side Hustle Show number 90, how non-techies can build a passive software business.
Welcome to the Side Hustle Show, where aspiring part-time entrepreneurs learn how to turn their side hustle dreams into reality. Because your 9 to 5 may make you a living, but your 5 to 9 makes you alive. And now, your host, Nick Loper.
What's going on? Nick Loper here. Welcome to the Side Hustle Show. This is episode 90, how non-techies can build a passive software business. My guest is Jon Nastor, who's done just that. And we'll get into all the juicy stuff, like finding a software idea, validating that idea, how to find the right partners to get it built for low or no upfront investment, and then how to go about getting some customers, how to sell this thing. And as per the usual, all my notes and highlights, along with Jon's top software business tips, are available to you in a free downloadable PDF at sidehustlenation.com/90 or through the link in the episode description of your podcast player app. News and updates before we get into it. You like the new cover art for the show? After 90 episodes, after a year and a half, or a little over that, I felt it was time for a change, something a little bit simpler, a little bit cleaner. And I actually asked some listeners for input on several new designs, and this one was the landslide winner. I didn't really know what to expect. I made them all myself in PowerPoint. It's the bootstrapper's way, but this one was the most popular choice. So we'll run with that for a while, see where it takes me. And actually, that was just one of several really fascinating insights that came out of the survey. Another one of the questions I asked was, what should I work on next? What project, which of these projects would be the most compelling to you, the most helpful to you? One of the top answers was a public coaching effort, guiding someone like you, through the process of building up your side hustle business over the course of this year. And this is something I've never done before. It sounds like a challenge, so I'm not one to back down from that. So I'm game for this if you are. To make it work, I'm going to need an audience volunteer. In exchange for your year of free coaching, you're agreeing to be a public guinea pig, kind of sharing the wins, losses, struggles, failures, successes, bumps in the road along the way with Side Hustle Nation, and hopefully coming out on the other side with a viable side hustle business and having helped a ton of people following along with your journey. And of course, all revenue earned is yours to keep. So free program, looking for a volunteer for that. If that sounds appealing to you, if you want to learn more about that opportunity and to throw your name in the ring, please visit sidehustlenation.com/apply. I don't even have a name for this project yet, but I think it could be a fun one. I think it could be a good storyline, good story arc for people to follow along with this year, and be really, really helpful for people to kind of watch it happen from the ground up. In the meantime, let's learn about some software with Jon Nastor. Hey, Jon, welcome to the Side Hustle Show.
Nick, thank you for having me.
Everybody, Jon Nastor, he's a lifelong side hustler. He's the co-founder of velocitypage.com, which is a pain-free webpage building tool for WordPress. It's grown to hundreds of users in the last year. And as a side hustle, he hosts the top-rated Hack the Entrepreneur podcast. So, Jon, thank you for joining me. And let's start with the Velocity Page stuff, the software stuff. This is the dream, right? A passive income software business. I can build something once. I can sell it over and over again. But I think the challenge that most people start with is like, where do I come up with an idea for this stuff? Like, that sounds great, but how do I know what to build?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the only way I've ever done this, because it is, and we all have ideas, but then we kind of invalidate them, maybe just in our own heads, just like, no, that's a bad idea now. But the way I've always done it, Velocity Page strictly came from me sitting up in my kitchen, and I had to go to a conference the next day, and I needed to put up a simple landing page. This is before lead pages, this is before anything. This is 2.5 years ago. Okay. And I had bought Optimized Press, I think it was at that point, which was in its original phase, and something else. I bought 2 expensive plugins and just frustrated. It's like, I'm savvy enough that, own a business online. I do stuff, but I'm not technically savvy. I'm not a coder. And I was like, I should be able to do this. And just I got frustrated. I was like, I have to go tomorrow. Right. So I just slammed my computer shut, and literally right then I was like, no, John, wait a minute. This is it. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only dude who can't build a page easily. And so I just like put that in the back of my head, went to the conference, and then that's where it came from. And it's really, I don't know if you're not scratch your own itch, right? I mean, what a better way, like you're probably, unless it's a crazy weird itch you got. But if it's a very basic kind of, I'm probably not the only one, I would start there because you already understand the problem. You already understand the pain point. So therefore you can sell what it is you're about to build.
Yeah, that's really funny. I spent like the week of New Year's last year, right before New Media Expo. Very similar story, like trying to update my website, trying to make it look a certain way before this conference. I wanted to show up and make a good impression. Like, not that anyone is ever going to look at your stupid business card like while they're at the thing anyways. But that was very, very similar experience there. And so you kind of validate, like, this is a pain point that I have in my own experience, and you're kind of making the assumption that other people have the same pain point. Yes?
Yes. I don't make the assumption. I just do a quick Google search, like landing page WordPress plugin. And it's like, whoa, there's like 50 different versions or like 50 different products out there. Most of them don't sell at all, but that's fine. That at least tells me that there's probably some interest because the ones that are doing well are doing really well. And so to me, it's like if I'm creating a business, I don't want to invent a market. I don't want to create a market. I don't want to create a new platform. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to enter a market that is already voraciously buying stuff. And I just want to make something that fits in nicely to that market and has a unique twist or selling proposition to it.
Okay. Yeah, it's very
simplicity always.
Yeah, very, very similar to what Andy Slamans was talking about with the Amazon FBA stuff and kind of like going on Amazon, figuring out what's already selling. Like, look, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, they've proven the market for you. And now if I can bring something similar to market with my own unique twist, all of a sudden I'm in a good position to make some sales.
Yeah. That unique twist can be as much as just making your pitch on the sales page different. It really is. The product can be almost the same. If the product's good, the product's good. That's a starting point, at least for you, right? And then you can uniquely vary yourself after that. But I see too many people getting caught up just trying to make something so unique and so different. And this will be, once people figure out that this is what it is, then they'll love it. It's like, yeah, but nobody will ever figure out that because, you know what I mean? Like, just go after a pain point that exists, hit the market as the market's kind of hit, but then make your unique selling proposition from the front end of the sales process.
Yeah. After podcast movement in August, my software idea was to build an eliminator, patent pending, for podcasters that would search somehow your audio track for the specific wave signature of an sound. And so instead of going through manually or having an editor going through manually removing all of these to make you and your guests sound smarter, it would do that for you. And that was my software idea. And then as the non-technical idea guy, I didn't really know the next steps. And so as the non-technical, WordPress landing page guy, what did you do next to say, okay, I want to build this, I want to market this?
I did exactly the same thing that I've done in the past, and it worked really well, which was I wrote up a super thorough, it was, I think, 5 sentences on a notepad of my description of the product. Super well laid out, just mapped fully, 5 sentences. I wanted to do this, 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 and this. And then I knew I wanted to be on WordPress. So I'm not part of WordPress. And to me, it's useless to create a product if you can't sell it. So I needed to enter the WordPress market with a way that would give me, obviously, authority and credibility to sell something. So I went to the top of WordPress, and top guy I kept seeing mentioned was, the owner of WordPress itself. So he's not a good choice. But then there's a guy, the second or third one, depending on what list you look at, and he's completely independent, only works as a consultant, and has never created his own product, but is super into capitalism and making money, just hasn't done it. So I approached him on Twitter, and then I sent him an email, and we jumped on Skype, and he liked the idea. then I said, I know I can't afford to pay you because I see that you charge like $600 an hour or something.
Okay.
So how about we make an equity deal? And then obviously he's a smart guy, so he liked that offer. And the rest, as they say, is kind of really slow
Whoa.
passing history.
Okay, so this guy, he's a co-founder. He's like employee number 3 at WordPress.
No, he's not an employee. The WordPress is open source, right? So nobody's employees. They all work for free, I guess, right? It's open source. Like,
But it's still a company. Like, it's still...
Automatic is a company, and Automatic
Okay.
owns WordPress. And Automatic, most of the main lead developers, I think, in WordPress work for Automatic also. Because Automatic's like $1 billion company at this point because they do lots of other stuff. But WordPress itself is open source, and so the lead developers, I don't think, unless they get some consulting money, but it really props you up and builds you into somebody who can then charge $600 an hour to do consulting as much as you possibly want to do, right? So it's like content marketing to me, right? It just makes you the pro. You're the go-to guy. That's why, like, Mark, he's the partner in Velocity Page. I know some giant companies in this world that pay him a lot of money every month just to keep him on retainer because he's the WordPress guy. If you want WordPress security or plugin, he's the guy.
What's to stop Mark from saying, "Hey, thanks for the idea. I'm just going to make this on my own. I don't need you anymore."
Nothing at all. There's also, our code follows WordPress's open source code as well. Our code for Velocity Page is completely open. There's nothing stopping you from buying a copy of Velocity Page, rebranding it and selling it yourself, except that nobody will buy it from you. So it's of no issue to me. It's just how it works. I'm not concerned about ideas. Ideas are completely worthless until they're acted on. So to me, this thing that you're thinking of would be really good right now. But like, ideas are completely worthless, right? So to me, my idea only becomes valuable when I share it with somebody super smart like Mark he took my idea, which, as I said, was literally 5 pages on a notepad document. It was 5 lines it was so basic and bare bones. I just basically knew what I wanted, but then I put it to somebody who has had a hand in creating WordPress itself. And he came back to me the next day. He's like, actually, John, I put something into WordPress core like 2 years ago, and I'm not even sure why I did it, and no one's ever used it. And we're going to use this. I had no idea at the time why I did it, he said, but this is why. He said, we're going to take it to the front end editing, and our editing all happens live on your page. Like, you don't go into the admin panel. On your page, you just type, do stuff, add your images, do anything you want, and just click save up in the top corner, and that's what everybody sees. And he's just like, I don't know why, right? So I couldn't have come up with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then insider knowledge for sure.
But he's a coder. He's a super, super smart coder, but he's not a marketing guy. He's not into sales. He's not into that whole side of it, right? So it's kind of a perfect, like, just partnership. Okay. I don't know the technical side. He doesn't know that. And it's like, to have my idea die inside of me rather than have it die with somebody stealing it after I tell them. I'd rather have that happen than just being like, no, I'm going to lock this away and never tell anybody. I'll come up with another idea tomorrow. I go on Facebook and within a week, I can come up with a good idea for a product just listening to people on Facebook complain about issues they're having. It's not that hard. That's not like why I don't create more products. It's because I don't have enough time and resources to create more products. It's not because I lack ideas. So I
used to be really terrified of that. Like, before I hired my first, VA, it was really, really scary. Like, oh, this person is going to steal my processes. They're going to steal my idea. They're going to like totally rip me off. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, they're busy with their own thing. They're not, plus, in all honesty, it's probably not the world's greatest system or idea anyways. And so, I don't know, I've become more openly sharing with that stuff. So if anyone wants to build the Eliminator, let me know and just, send me credit or something.
But just like a copy of it to use, because it would be great.
That would be helpful too. And I'll throw in some more into the script and not worry about it.
Ultimately, I think ideas need to work this way, right? Like, look at Elon Musk, right, with Tesla. Like, all these other car companies coming out and trying to like R&D and figure out what they're doing with their batteries and stuff. And he's just like, you know what? Open source, all of it. Everything we know, you guys now know. We're posting it online live all the time for you. I don't think the reason, and he doesn't think the reason that his company is better than other car companies right now isn't because he's protecting his ideas, because now everybody has it. He's just a smarter guy. He knows how to market better. He knows how to he knows business better, and he's kind of a genius, and he's like just a renegade in that way. And so it's not the idea. Like anybody can now build a Tesla car, but no one's going to buy them. Like anybody can build Velocity Page at this point, but no one's going to buy it because it's not made by Mark and I. Perfect. Right. It's just the way it is, right? And I think that's the way ideas should go, because we should be pushing each other to learn from what we've all done and then take it another step further. That's how we're all going to grow and how we're all going to build cooler stuff together to benefit more and more people.
So a couple points I want to hit on here is using the WordPress ecosystem or building on top of the WordPress ecosystem. You know, they power one out of every 5 new websites on the planet. Like it's huge market to piggyback on. That's like, look, I'm not inventing this market. The other part was looking for WordPress landing page plugins and not reinventing the wheel there. What's your take on like finding a developer on Elance or something, and like you said, look, I can't afford to pay you your $600 an hour. I can't afford to pay you whatever your standard development rate is. Do other freelancers, would they bite on an equity deal, do you think?
So 2 things, I guess. I could afford to pay him. I figured out about how much it would have cost to get it built the first time, but I didn't want to pay him. I wanted him to be a partner because I knew we could enter the market with him and kick ass.
Okay.
So, and I know he's a smart guy. I said that at the very end of our first conversation in Skype. He was kind of interested. He's like, oh, I'll get back to you next week. And at the very end, I said, I'm also interested in working out equity with you if you want, because I might not be able to afford to pay you what you want. And I heard him go silent, and I was like, he's thinking. And then the next day, he called me instantly. He's like, I've been thinking about that. I was like, of course you were, is what I said, because you're a smart dude. Of course you are. Like, it's business. It's a negotiation, right? I wouldn't do that with everybody. I wouldn't do that necessarily unless I had to. If I didn't have money or means to hire a developer, then I probably would have to, because I'd rather have part of something than all of nothing.
Yeah, because they're taking a lot of risk on you. Like, oh, does this guy actually have the ability to go out and sell this thing? After I put my blood, sweat, and tears into it, working for a very low rate or working for free or working for equity that may end up being worthless.
Of course, and that's totally fine, and they're okay to do that. But I also know that I'm going to get better work out of somebody who has equity in it. Because it's not just a job now. Now this is a business that could pay me for a long time. If they trust me to do my job and I trust them to do their job, then we're good to go. But that being said, I would never try and go on Elance, just find somebody and then try and partner with them, because I wouldn't trust them to know what they're doing. The very first product I ever built, which was 4 years ago now, we figured out what we wanted. Then I went to Elance and I paid some guy in some country $2,500 or something. And it was with design, everything, to build this first SaaS product. And it was garbage. It was total garbage, which was fine. So then I got smart, which is what I then took to the thing with Mark. Was there was in this SaaS market that I was in, then there was a script that a script is like a basic framework for a certain type of SaaS product, right? So there was this script that existed and there was about 10 or even 20 already businesses in this market that ran directly off that script, and they just put a new design over the top of it. Okay. So, and then people just hired people off Elance to tweak the script to make it slightly different. So what did I do? I was just no, I'm going to do some research. It took me about a day and a half, I remember, but I'm going to find out who made this script. And so I found out who made the script, and nobody had ever done it before. And then I just reached out to him, and he was like, wow, no one's ever done this before. I was like, yeah, well, okay. So I want to build something better. He's like, you have no idea. I built that script 3 years ago. I have so many ideas for how this should be so much better, and I've just never taken the time to do it. But now let's do it. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And we did that. We did it together, scrapped the original product, went through with him. I think it took us about 4 months. And then I think I had to end up paying him about $8,000. But then we launched it, and we made 3 times that, I think, in the first week of launching, and then it just went from there. So that's why when, I guess, to go to the Velocity page thing, when I first came back, I just thought back to that. I was like, well, don't start at the bottom, John. Like, why would you start with like Elance? Like, let's try and build a WordPress plugin for the cheapest possible. It's like, no, let's go to the top. I went to who builds the script being WordPress core at this point. Right. And it makes sense. And those people typically don't even get asked. I asked Mark and I asked this guy, Nick, that first time with the script. Both of them said to me, nobody's ever asked me before.
Wow.
So I'm just the first guy, I guess, that was just, I guess, ballsy enough just to do it. But
I guess so.
And they're just sitting there waiting. Like, why does everybody just ignore us? Like all these people who have less skills than me, and they're making all these deals and partnerships with people, and no one's ever asked us.
So Audacity is open source. So I could find out who's writing, who built that, and go after some of these people. Hey, I'm thinking about building this for podcasters. And
I don't know why you wouldn't. Yeah.
See if somebody would be interested in doing a similar deal there.
And people in open source, they're usually open enough and cool enough just in general that if they don't have time or can't, they're going to lead you to somebody who like, wow, but this guy, he actually started working on Audacity now and he's like lower maybe, but he's super good and he's going to be really important in the market soon. That's what people will do. They'll just send you to the right person. So it doesn't hurt to ask, man. Just be cool about it, right? That's all it is.
Just be cool.
It's worked for me. I don't know.
Let's talk about the selling side. So that's what you're bringing to the table in the partnership. Like, hey, I know how to market this. I know how to sell it. What does that look like? Are you pre-selling this before you're building it? Are you like, how do you get your first customers for something like this?
Our first customers for Velocity page were just like all sort of launch manuals tell you to do, product launch sort of things. We didn't mention it to anybody at all. And then Friday night at 11 o'clock in last February, we sent out one tweet via Mark's Twitter. And we sold, I think it was like 40 something products by the next morning. And we were only going to sell 50 for the first, I think it was 5 weeks before launch. We called it V0.9. And that was just how we did it. Completely contrary to everything you're ever told. We did it super late at night, quietly. I was actually at a hockey game with my daughter when the tweet went out, and it wasn't really intentional, but it was kind of, we had worked at it all day, and finally it's like, oh, we're not ready, and then we did that, and that literally just went not even to the sales page. It went to a video, a quick like 2 minutes. Still, it's the first blog post we have on the site, and it was Mark just quickly just kind of explaining like him and then what he's trying to create and how it's like super not where it's supposed to be right now, but this is what it is if you want it. So that was it, man.
So yeah, if you don't have a WordPress celebrity to tweet about your thing,
then you partnered with the wrong person.
Then you partnered with the wrong.
No, but I mean, this goes back to, you shouldn't be creating a product before you have an idea exactly how you're going to sell it. I had to have the person to enter the market because WordPress is a massive market that takes a long time to kind of get traction in. And so I just needed to kind of just join somebody and get instant authority kind of based on being partnered with that person. I would not have built the product, then tried to figure out how to sell it. I will never do that. And I will shake my head at anybody that ever just, I have this amazing product. Now what do I do? It's like, you didn't think of this before. If you don't know how you're going to sell your product, you shouldn't be building it. It's as easy as that, because some products are just really hard to sell. So then if that's the case, then at least you found that out before building it. I don't know. It's just makes sense to me. It seems backwards to some people, but it shouldn't start without it having a sales or an offer or how you're going to hit the market in mind first.
Yeah, something in mind to, who's going to want to buy this? Like, who's your target customer? Who's your dream 100 clients, as they say in what's the book, the Ultimate Sales Machine. I have a question for you about pricing, because Lead Pages is a competitor, and they are a monthly subscription service. But you guys have gone the one-time purchase route. Do you think? Well, I mean, obviously there's a strategy behind that. So you want to talk about pricing for a minute?
Sure. You want to know why we went this route?
Yeah, why go for a one-off purchase instead of a recurring subscription? Because that's like the dream of the SaaS model, right? Like, I can get people paying me month after month after month. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and before I created a Velocity page, I said I would never create a product that doesn't have a recurring model behind it, especially monthly, because I love it, and I've done really well at it, which is funny, right? But then, so first of all, Lead Pages isn't a competitor of us. I don't consider them a competitor. We're not trying to create the same thing. We don't do landing pages so much as we're trying to do websites. Like you can go on and create a simple blog and have like your About Me page, your Start Here page, your Sign Up page, all looking like your theme and just super simple, easy to work with on your page, right?
Okay.
So it's a different model to me. And so it's hard to compare the two. It's not really a comparison. Lead Pages is amazing, absolutely awesome, and they're just different than us, and that's it. We both have page in our name, I guess. But
all right, well, something like Instapage, I mean, there's a dozen of the,
of course, yeah, totally,
but they're all sold on a recurring basis.
Ours is a plugin, right? Ours is software. Like something like Instapage or Lead Pages is it's SaaS. You go to another place. It's software as a service used on their site. And most of the pages even are hosted by them. We don't do that, right? Ours is a plugin. You literally download the software and then you get to use it. That being said, you get a 1-year license. You pay $247. You get a 1-year license for unlimited sites. But when that year comes up, you have to renew a license at a discounted rate, but you still need to renew in order to get future updates for security and all of our new themes and all that sort of stuff that keeps coming out. So there is kind of a recurring model, and then we have mapped out already a real actually will be an upsell in the sales process to an actual full monthly recurring system of getting themes and templates just on a constant basis coming through to you only because you belong to this new section, which is like going to be kind of Velocity themes, we're going to call it, I think. And that will be because my other partner in the business, Bill, he's still just like, John, why are we doing this without a recurring model? Because we've always done it and it's always worked really well for us. Just right now, we're focused on the product and making those first sales, keeping those people happy. And we're just coming up to our first 1 year, I guess in February. So that's when we're going to start to see recurring sales from the original first year. With licensing. So it is recurring, just on a longer time frame.
A longer scale. So the plugin will still be active, and then or will those pages die if people don't like?
No. You always own it, and you can even remove Velocity Page, and your page is still there. You just can't edit it now with Velocity Page anymore. Okay. It's the understood model within WordPress. Gravity Forms, you buy it, you get a license and the product for a year, and updates and support for a year. But next year you have to, if you don't want to buy another license, then you don't get support. You don't get updates, all that stuff.
Anything you do, actually, before we dive into that, so these first 50 customers, first 40 customers come from this midnight, hockey game tweet. After that, what's been the process to onboard people and kind of market this thing, since then? Content
is huge. I would suggest, and if I was doing Velocity Page today rather than last year, I would have started doing the content even sooner. Content is massive, like just blogging and doing podcast interviews, all that sort of stuff. Just it brings interest in. I don't think you can sell directly to a sales page anymore. I think you have to bring in and find your customer through good content, and then they get interested in you. They get interested. And because you've targeted them properly, they're also interested in your product without knowing, and then they get introduced to your product inadvertently through your content. And I think that's absolutely, absolutely king. That and having affiliates promoting the crap out of your stuff.
Yeah, that's something, the content side of things, something that WP Curve has done exceptionally well, something that Lead Pages does exceptionally well with all of their educational webinars and everything. And it's, a lot of it is like, hey, this is how you can build your email list. Oh, and then by the way, this is a tool that will make it easier for you. The recurring, like Lead Pages has worked really well for me, but the recurringness of it like bothers me. I wish it was a one-off purchase instead, but the content is a good way to go, and I like that. Anything else you do differently to get in front of more customers?
To get in front of more customers, no, I think I would have just pushed it harder, and then, which I'm going to start doing, is pushing content out to other places, meaning guest posting. Like Buffer app does it amazingly well. Crazy Egg, those kind of people, they guest post like weekly, like everywhere else. And you don't see an immediate return on that. It might take 6 months, but then search engines start to pick those things up. And then all of a sudden you have a swell of people coming at you. Content isn't instant. You can't try and make it. I'll create something that'll go viral. It's like, no, you won't. And if it does, it's going to go viral in 6 months for some weird reason. So just get back to work, write some more, do some more. And then, I mean, we had some luck where we got picked up by AppSumo pretty early on. And we did a lot of sales through AppSumo, which is really cool. Got us a lot of exposure.
That's awesome. Were you proactive in that, or did they just kind of discover it on their own?
Yeah, they were told, I guess, by a bunch of people on Twitter that it should be an AppSumo.
Oh, wow.
And so they approached us. Then I went through the craziest negotiation I've ever gone through in my life. It was hilarious. Those guys are hardcore. They're awesome, and they do what they say they're going to do, but just trying to get them to say what they're going to do first is really, really, really hard. I actually completely walked away from the deal twice. Once on a Friday night at like 8:00 at night, I was still on. I was like, okay, man, I'm just done. I can't do it. I can't do it for that much money. It's not going to work. I've told you this. And I'm so happy that you made this offer to us, but I cannot do that. I'll go broke. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Sorry. And I was just like, but I appreciate it so much. And I just hung up and then got a text like 10 minutes later, can you get back on Skype? And I went back on Skype, and then they gave us what we wanted, or what we needed. It wasn't even what we wanted.
Yeah.
And then
it's something that was more of a win-win versus, them just strong-arming you.
Right. And I see what they're doing. It's business, and I'm totally cool with it. It's not personal. It's business. We both want to make more money. Fine. Right. But there was a point where it was just like, okay, I have to make this much money per sale. I just can't make less. And I've been clear about that. So I'm willing to bend on some other stuff, but I have to do that. And so it was good. And I think we're both happy with it, and they don't take it personally. I mean, but I guess I got lucky in that way that they did approach us, so I had some more leverage to work with. But that helped a lot. That's a lot of exposure. We got a lot of social media out of that. Got to write a cool blog post about it, that kind of stuff. And that stuff does help, right? And although we got approached, it's not, I don't think, that hard to approach them or get some people in your social network to ask for it. It's not what we did, but I mean, if I was going back again, I probably would do that just to make sure we did get on there, because it's a big, big platform full of people that love software. So it's perfect, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So going forward, like for 2015, you're the product guy, you're the marketing guy, and focusing on the content. So what kind of content do you focus on creating this year?
Blog posts. We have a regular schedule of blog posts starting up next week again.
Are you trying to do like the epic, quick sprout case study type of stuff?
No, I can't write those. My partner, Bill, can kind of. So he more kind of leans to that. I'm more in the short sort of business. Like I don't write about the product. I don't write about that. It's just business, kind of my take around it, like how having mostly all the stuff I've been talking about, like you need to know what you're selling before you create it, that kind of stuff, because people who are going to use Velocity Page are typically side hustlers, small business owners, people who just need to get sites up quickly to do stuff that they want and be able to continue to do it and not have to pay a recurring revenue or recurring model behind it, right? So I just write that sort of thing, and if I tried to write one of those epic posts, it would just take me 2 months and it wouldn't get done. So that's not how I write. I'm starting to write on some other fairly large websites. Starting in the next month or two, I have a couple submissions that have been accepted, and they're just having to go through to get me started as contributors there.
Awesome.
Which is cool. So that obviously there's a link back to Velocity Page with that, which will help. And that's about it. I'm just going to hit it hard, I guess, with podcasting. And keep growing. Hack the Entrepreneur was just something I had some time over the summer. And to me, it's another content vehicle where all of my listeners are a perfect target pretty much for Velocity Page. And inadvertently, just in our conversation, Velocity Page, like when I'm talking to other people, Velocity Page comes up because it's my main business, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, that's how content marketing works these days. So all of it is literally, I spend 99% of my days and weeks and nights and years right now creating content. And all of that is around kind of me and what I'm doing and what I'm thinking. And all of it is leading back to Velocity Page.
I like it. And the podcast has kind of taken on a life of its own. And so that's some great exposure for it.
It really has. I don't know how that exactly happened, but I'm super happy with it.
Isn't that weird? Like, you never same thing with blog posts. You could spend 10 hours writing what you think is going to be an epic, awesome post, and it lands with a thud. And then you spend an hour on just like banging out something quick and people love it. And I don't know. I wish sometimes I wish you could kind of like reverse engineer what worked, and like for podcast growth, it's like I don't know, I wish I had a formula I could tell people do this and you'll be at the top of iTunes. But
exactly, I mean, the only thing I could say is that just kind of have your targets in mind for a few months, and same with blogging, right? And if it's not working what you're doing, which was my plan for the podcast, I know we're not talking podcasts, but my plan was 3 months. If I don't hit certain targets, which I blew out of the water by like hundreds and hundreds of percent because it was beyond what I imagined, but I was just like, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to start again and tweak it a bit, tweak the brand, tweak everything, and then hit iTunes hard again with another one, and then with another one. It might take me 3 or 4 before one really takes off. But the first one, well, my second one, but first one myself, and it just kind of did it, right? But I would never keep slogging it out for like a year or two. I wouldn't do that with Velocity Page. I wouldn't do it with anything. You kind of have to hit with some momentum, I find, and then really just keep pushing it and keep pushing it and keep pushing it and keep pushing it. And then you hit dips. Of course, there's always dips. I'm kind of in a dip right now with Hack the Entrepreneur, but it's totally cool. I'm good with it because I know if I keep pushing through that, it's the other side is going to be golden. So
awesome, Jon. Thanks so much for coming on, sharing all this wisdom about the content marketing, the software business, the partnering and validation and like all this stuff is really, really insightful, and it's gotten me some ideas as well. So everyone, you got to check Jon out at velocitypage.com for the WordPress plugin, and the podcast is hacktheentrepreneur.com, Hack the Entrepreneur Show. And we'll wrap it up with your number one tip for side hustlers, for Side Hustle Nation.
My number one tip for Side Hustle Nation is to get started today. Mark it on the calendar that you're going to start building something today. And even if you don't know what that is, but you have to start or mark the calendar today and start. Because the day passes, the year passes so quickly, and you don't even realize it until it comes back next year and you see your calendar and it kicks you in the ass and you're like, Jesus, Jon told me to start a year ago and I didn't. I don't care if you have a side hustle now, but start another one. That's what side hustles are. Have side hustles on your side hustles, man. Like, seriously, it's something. I have a daughter and she's young, and so birthdays are amazing to her, and I hear about mine months in advance, and that's my X now, is my birthday, because I know when a year passes. Years used to pass and I didn't do anything before. Had a kid, and now it's like my business has skyrocketed in the last 5 years because of her reminding me that every year's coming, and it just kicks me to just, wow, I got to get to work because I don't want to be in the same spot next year, and I never am. So
exactly. I like it. Jon, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Nick, thank you very much.
I'm skipping the sponsorship section today because I've got a favor to ask. The 10th Annual Podcast Awards are open for nominations until February 2nd. So if you are a fan of the show, I would be amazingly honored and humbled if you took a couple minutes to go to podcastawards.com and nominate The Side Hustle Show. You can nominate in the business category and in the People's Choice category and in the best produced category, but let's be real, it's not the best produced show out there. Again, that's podcastawards.com. Would be so grateful if you had a couple minutes to drop in a nomination before February 2nd. Thank you so much for your consideration and support there. Again, all my notes and highlights from this episode with Jon, along with his top tips for building a software business, are available to you in a free downloadable PDF at sidehustlenation.com/90 or through the link in the episode description of your podcast player app. If you're just a quick note on that stuff, if you're already subscribed to my mailing list, you're not getting signed up for anything extra. You're not going to get any extra email from me by downloading those files. It's just a delivery mechanism. And if you're not already signed up, you will be getting more email from me, but it's good stuff. I think you'll like it, and it's a great way to stay on top of everything that I'm working on at the site or on the show. I do have several new 5-star iTunes reviews that came in toward the end of the year after I hit 100 in the U.S. store by the end of the year. Very, very grateful for that. These are coming in from Shot X Wolf, Nikki Scoots, JLA Man 2010, and Mouser Blue. Mike, Harry, Nicole, thank you guys so much for that. I've said before, the show is the highlight of my week, and really appreciate all of the support that's out there for us. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time, let's go out there and make something happen. And I'll see you next week in episode 91. Hustle on.
Thanks for listening to the Side Hustle Show at www.sidehustlenation.com.